Hi all, I'm super excited today because we're cooking a traditional Cantonese dish today. And the Cantonese dish is a yi tao tofu bowl, a fish head tofu clay pot. So if you're not familiar with clay pot dishes, check out the Chinese menu in your Chinese restaurant, in a traditional Chinese Cantonese restaurant. There's going to be a little section that says clay pot dishes, and there's not going to be that many of them. There's going to be some fish clay pot, a lamb clay pot. And I remember when my parents used to order it, and you get this hot steaming clay pot that the waiter puts out in front of you, and then just opens up in the steam. It's still kind of bubbling inside, and then you've got this beautiful dish of the fish it's fried underneath. The first time I had it, I didn't know it, but I took a piece and it was very nice because you get a little bit of that crust on there that is soaked up all the sauce and then the fish, and then you get little bits of tofu in there that are kind of refreshing and soaked up the sauce, and then the lettuce at the bottom. It's all good. The clay pot is bubbling, but you know that they cooked it in the wok, heated up the clay pot and then poured it all in there and served it bubbling at the table. And it was very hot. You'd have to watch out for it. And we make it often, especially when we go fishing in Montauk, and we catch the stripers. And sometimes, even if we get skunked, we don't get a striper, we ask the mates to save the fish collars because not everybody wants them. And a lot of people just want the fish fillets, and the collars are super delicious, and we use those. But today we're going to use, actually this is a striped bass fish fillet with the skin on, and we're going to use that cooked with tofu, some shiitake mushrooms, dried shiitake mushrooms because they're the most fragrant, a little bit of carrot for color and sweetness, and chee sauce, which is not used very often, but it's a super Cantonese ingredient. And a chee sauce is sort of a milder form of hoisin, very close. So if you don't have chee sauce, you can get it for your pantry. Or if you have hoisin, you could just use a little bit of hoisin sauce as well. And then we've got a clay pot here full of lettuce. And we're going to heat this clay pot up, and then we're going to pour all of this into the clay pot, and that's the way we're going to serve it. Restaurants usually cook everything in a wok and do exactly what we're doing here. Heat up the clay pot, throw in the cooked dish over this bed of lettuce. So when you got the spoon and you're taking a piece of fish and then you're fishing out a piece of tofu, you get a nice chunk of that lettuce. That's super refreshing. One of my favorite things about the dish. Well, there's a lot more. You missed it.
Yeah, you missed it, baby.
After you all go through all that, you want the lettuce?
Now casserole.
The lettuce? Well, after you've drowned yourself in fried fish soaked in this chee sauce with the tofu and everything, it's like, oh, I got a piece of lettuce.
Let's make it.
Let's make it. Slide in these fish pieces one at a time. Here you go. All right. A little non-stick action going on here. Want to cook it a couple of minutes on each side. About 80% done, because when we put it in the sauce, it's going to continue to cook. So again, you want a medium-high heat. You want a little crust on this. Now, typically, this fish was deep fried, and there was, and a lot of times there's a lot more breading on it, depending upon where you eat it. But we went a little bit light on the cornstarch and flour. I want to be careful about turning these pieces. And this striped bass is delicious.
Other types of fish you can use?
Good question. Yes. Any white fish that is a firm fish, haddock, halibut, you want a little bit flaky fish because you do want to have that fish sort of melt in your mouth. So what I'm doing is I'm flipping it a little bit often to try to get all sides, a little sear on all sides. So this is going on now about on minute 3 about, and I'm just kind of flipping them different ways here. And these look really good. And you can see they're not fully cooked over here yet. And get this side. So you see how thick these pieces are. They're about a good inch thick. So this, I've been cooking this for about 2 minutes on each side. Maybe even a little bit less. Aromatics. The whites of the scallions. Carrots in along with the garlic also. Takes a little bit longer to cook. And this is a low medium heat. Next we'll add these mushrooms. I'm going to add some of this chee sauce. Spatula would have been better, but I had the spoon handy. Fry this chee sauce a little bit. And I'm going to hit it with Shaoxing wine. And I'm going to stir up the sauce that I used the mushroom soaking liquid and then supplement it with water or chicken stock. And then make sure you get the tofu covered in the liquid. So you bring this to a slow simmer because we do want this tofu to heat up evenly. And we also want these mushrooms to soak up some of the flavor. And here's a tip. So for your mushrooms, after you've soaked them and they're soaked through, you definitely want to squeeze the mushrooms out and leave the liquid in that you're going to make the sauce with, because you don't want the mushrooms waterlogged. You want them dry so that when you throw them into the flavored sauce, they soak up the sauce and cook that way. This fish is smelling awful good. So I'm going to only use half of it. Looks pretty thick. Pour a little bit more in. Oh, I broke the tofu. Now I'm going to add the fish back and all the sauce. Gently move the fish in here. Let it cook in the sauce. You don't want to break this up. You want these nice big chunks. And I'm going to toss these scallions in here. I'm going to let it cook for a little while and sort of fold it in. Let the scallions cook. Being super careful because I got both delicate items here, the fish and the tofu. So now this fish is just about cooked, I would say, since it was mostly cooked already. I'm going to actually turn this flame off. Put the lettuce in. I'm going to move this clay pot a little closer. Get a nice sizzle. Okay, and that's the dish. Your clay pot fish with tofu. See that nice bubbling action there? I'm just gonna cover it. And when you put it on the table, like we're gonna do in a minute, we're gonna put it on the table and then uncover it just like the restaurant does. Right here. Whoa, nice.
Okay, taste test.
All right, we're taste testing this. And when you get this clay pot, you gotta dig deep for the sauce and the and a little bit of the lettuce. Goes right over the rice. Okay, let me give this a shot. And this striped bass is so delicious. Gotta be. That's perfect.
Does it taste like childhood?
It does. And the tofu, we didn't fry this tofu, so it's more tender. Every element of this dish is so good. These dried shiitake mushrooms are so fragrant. You get a little bit of coating on this fish. And then you get the lettuce and the sauce that is soaked into the rice. Delicious. So now, if you've ever had this in the restaurant, you can make it at home. If you haven't had it at a restaurant, you should still make it at home. You're going to enjoy it immensely. It's a really different way of having fish and tofu, and you can choose your favorite fish. Like we said, we can choose a nice tender white fish that is firm but still a little bit flaky. Striped bass, haddock, cod, all these different fishes. Enjoy it, folks.